People often imagine that truth is something we naturally want, that once it is revealed, it will be welcomed, that clarity brings relief. But history suggests something quieter and more troubling, that truth is often met not with gratitude, but with fear. Not because it is false, but because it asks something from us. Socrates is remembered as a martyr for truth, a man condemned for speaking honestly, but that framing is too clean. What Socrates revealed was not simply uncomfortable ideas. He revealed something about how human beings respond when certainty is disturbed. This inquiry does not focus on the trial as a political event or Athens as a system of power. It looks instead at a recurring pattern in human behavior. What happens emotionally and psychologically when deeply held beliefs are questioned from within. Socrates did not arrive in Athens as a revolutionary. He did not claim secret knowledge. He did not offer a new doctrine to replace the old ones. He asked questions, not abstract ones, not distant ones, but questions that reached into everyday assumptions. What is virtue? What is justice? What is courage? What does it mean to live well? These were words everyone believed they understood. Socrates treated them as unsettled. The disturbance came not from disagreement, but from exposure. People discovered, often publicly, that they could not explain what they claimed to know. This mattered more than being wrong. To be wrong can be corrected. To be exposed is something else. Socrates' method did not humiliate through insult. It worked through patience, through repetition, through asking someone to follow their own beliefs to their end. And often, those beliefs collapsed under their own weight. The conversations were calm, the consequences were not. What Socrates uncovered was not ignorance, it was the fear beneath it. Because ignorance can be filled. Fear resists. Many Athenians did not leave these conversations enlightened, they left unsettled. Something familiar no longer held. Belief, once shaken, does not always reorganize itself. Sometimes it simply aches. Human beings rely on beliefs not only to understand the world, but to remain oriented within it. Belief provides continuity. It reduces uncertainty. It allows us to move without constant reflection. When Socrates questioned belief, he interrupted that continuity. He did not replace it with answers. He left gaps. The human response to gaps is rarely neutral. Uncertainty demands energy. It slows action. It destabilizes identity. A person who no longer knows what virtue is may begin to question whether they are virtuous. A person who cannot define justice may begin to doubt their judgments. This doubt does not remain abstract. It touches self-image. Socrates' conversations had consequences that followed people home, into private reflection, into silence. That silence was not always peaceful. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Socrates is his calmness in the face of this reaction. He did not defend himself emotionally. He did not soften his approach to reduce discomfort. He seemed to believe that truth, once glimpsed, justified the disturbance it caused. But his listeners did not always share that belief. For many, the cost felt too high. There is a subtle difference between curiosity and tolerance. People enjoy new ideas when those ideas do not threaten the structures that support their sense of self. Socrates crossed that threshold repeatedly. He did not attack beliefs from the outside. He questioned them from within their own logic. That is what made the fear sharper. When belief collapses because of external force, it can be dismissed as coercion. When it collapses because of internal contradiction, there is nowhere to place the blame. The discomfort becomes personal. Human beings are remarkably capable of living alongside contradiction, but we prefer it to remain unnamed. Socrates named it, not loudly, not dramatically, simply by letting it speak. This may explain why Socrates was described as corrupting rather than instructing. He did not implant false beliefs. He weakened existing ones. In human psychology, weakening belief without replacing it can feel like loss. And loss seeks explanation. Over time, the fear surrounding Socrates began to shift. It was no longer about specific arguments. It was about the effect he had on people. He made certainty fragile. He made confidence provisional. He made knowledge feel conditional. These are not crimes in themselves, but they are unsettling conditions for communal life. Groups rely on shared assumptions to function smoothly. When those assumptions are questioned too often, friction appears. Not everyone reacts to this friction with reflection. Some react with resentment. Socrates became a symbol not of truth, but of disruption. What is revealing is that he did not present himself as someone who possessed truth. He repeatedly claimed ignorance. This claim was not false modesty. It was a stance. By refusing to anchor his identity in certainty, he left others exposed with theirs. The human response to such exposure is rarely admiration. It is often defensiveness. Defensiveness does not always appear as anger. Sometimes it appears as dismissal, as ridicule, as labeling someone dangerous. The charge against Socrates was not that he lied. It was that he unsettled. This distinction matters. Throughout history, truth has often been tolerated when it remains distant. But when it presses too closely against belief, it triggers fear. That fear is not always conscious. It does not announce itself as fear of truth. It appears as concern for stability, for tradition, for the well-being of others. The mind is skilled at justifying avoidance. Socrates did not attempt to manage this reaction. He did not adjust his questions to preserve comfort. He seemed to accept that fear was part of the encounter. What does this reveal about human nature? It suggests that belief is not only cognitive, it is emotional. Beliefs are not simply propositions we hold, they are structures we lean on. When those structures weaken, the body responds before the intellect does. Anxiety appears. Defensiveness follows. Then rationalization. The desire for truth competes with the desire for psychological stability. Socrates forced that competition into the open. His calmness in the face of death is often treated as evidence of philosophical detachment. But it may also reflect something else, a willingness to live with uncertainty rather than escape it. He did not claim that questioning would lead to comfort, only that avoiding it led to illusion. Illusion is often kinder than truth, at least in the short term. It preserves identity. It smooths social interaction. It allows routines to continue. Truth, when it disrupts, demands adjustment. Adjustment requires effort. Not everyone is prepared for that effort. The Athenians who condemned Socrates may not have seen themselves as opposing truth. They may have seen themselves as protecting coherence. From their perspective, the cost of his questioning exceeded its value. This is not a uniquely ancient response. Human beings across time have shown a pattern. When truth threatens meaning, meaning is often defended. Not because truth is false, but because meaning feels necessary. Socrates revealed that fear of truth is often fear of what follows it. If I admit I do not know what justice is, how do I act tomorrow? If I accept that my beliefs are inconsistent, who am I now? These questions do not resolve themselves easily. Socrates did not resolve them. He left them open. This openness is uncomfortable. It offers no immediate replacement, no secure ground. For some, that openness feels like freedom. For others, it feels like vertigo. Human nature does not lean uniformly toward either response, but it does show a tendency. When uncertainty grows too large, many retreat. They seek closure, they seek reaffirmation, they seek voices that promise clarity. Socrates offered none of these. He offered only continued questioning. This made him difficult to tolerate, not because he destroyed beliefs, but because he refused to repair them. The fear he revealed was not fear of being wrong. It was fear of being unmoored. Truth, in this sense, is not merely factual accuracy. It is a process that destabilizes, and destabilization is not universally welcomed. What Socrates revealed is that the human relationship to truth is conditional. We value it when it confirms. We resist it when it disrupts. This does not make us dishonest. It makes us human. Belief, meaning, and identity are intertwined. To question one is to touch the others. Socrates touched all three. His death did not end this pattern. It clarified it. The unease he provoked continues wherever questioning reaches into certainty without offering shelter. The fracture lies here. When confronted with a truth that unsettles our sense of who we are, what do we protect first? Accuracy or coherence? Socrates did not answer that question. He lived inside it. And perhaps what endures is not his conclusions, but the discomfort he refused to soothe. A reminder that truth does not always arrive as light. Sometimes it arrives as a loss of balance. And the way we respond to that loss may reveal more about us than the truth itself ever could. Join us on Timeless Questions, where ancient stories, enduring ideas, and human nature meet in quiet reflection.